It was silly, ridiculous, a waste of time. They didn't want that's why they were so successful. That's why they got away.
I made a living in very dangerous.
Dianne Andrews in black and white.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. Thanks for joining in with us today in the 3 million homes, whether you're in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and our 50 parishes in Louisiana, and our 4 counties in Mississippi. Or we enjoy you watching us also on YouTube. And I need more subscribers out there, and we need more followers on our social media platforms. And they'll be up on the screen, you'll see them, and you can join and follow us on those also around the world. You know, it's been so much going on around the world. I've done 9 COVID-19 shows. I'm starting my series again on Black, White, Blue Lives Matter, which was really started back when I first started this show, Dianne Andrews in Black and White. And that was one reason I started this, because of the conflicts going on in the country in 15. I did shows on the first I Can't Breathe victim, who was up in Long Island, New York. I did shows on Tamar Rice, the little 12-year-old killed in the park. But I also do shows on the other side of the coin also. Last year, 1,008 people were killed by police, and that's including gunfights, that's including robberies, domestic violence, everything. When I first started the show, I'd ask people, how many blacks do you think are killed? Because that seems to be a big concern. And it is a big concern for everyone that's killed, especially with police brutality, like George Floyd. There's nothing in this world that was more horrific than what George Floyd, how he was killed by Derek Chauvin. But also, I like to show the real facts. 1,008 were killed, 375 were white, and 235 were black, 170 were brown last year. That's after 10 million arrests, 50 million encounters with police. So when I hear about defunding police, let's defund the bad police. That means let's get them out. But let's keep the good police, because who we're going to be hurting more in those instances are going to be the poor areas. That would be almost systematic racism and almost systematic elimination, as what's going on in New York City, what's going on in Chicago. 7,000 blacks are killed by other blacks a year. Last week I did a show with Reverend Victor White, which he's been on my show before. You may know his national series, or the national series done on Discovery. I'm holding this and I'm going to tell you why it's getting heavy. You know, I'm a little thing, and this is like 9 pounds that somebody grows that we're going to be talking to today. But back to Chicago, over 1,000 people get killed by black on black crime. Of course, white on white crimes are more than within their race also, but 7,000. And that's been since I started in 15. I did some shows, and I do them with police brutality that is uncalled for, but I also do them with mothers of sons who they had to say goodbye to. And they have no justice, no peace also. One name that I would like for you to remember is a 14-year-old boy in the CHOP zone in Seattle, Washington. He was killed in the zone by some other people, and he happened to be black. His name was Horace Anderson. So let's remember all people, even the 5-month-old baby who was killed in Chicago last week, the 3-year-olds, the little girls in the cars. You can't have justice and peace without looking at both sides of the coin. And that's what we're going to talk to some of our law enforcement people today and law and order people. We're going to talk to our DA today, who's been on my show multiple times. And what I'm holding today is something that he has something to do with. So come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White and meet the 2 law and order people that we have here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana to talk to. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you, D.A. Moore. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time. Yes. I appreciate you. You're always so gracious, and Linda in helping get some words out that you want to get out too to the public.
Thank you.
And thank you also, Major Ponton.
Yes,
Anthony Ponton, right?
Yes,
I got it right. You can tell he's a Cajun guy, right? Up from around Opelousas, Eunice area with that name.
Yes.
as I said, this has something to do with our DA. It's a part of him that probably most people don't know. And he's a third time. This is his third term as our district attorney here. Now, you all aren't term limited, right? You could be like a federal judge, right? As long as you're elected, yes. You're not appointed, yes. Right? That's the difference. We're going to talk about some of that with the major there about elected officials versus in the police, the state troopers, and the sheriff, because I think a lot of people don't understand the difference in how you delineate the territory of who has what responsibilities. Yes, but this is something grown, and it's 9 pounds from our DA's garden. He took over his wife's front yard to grow. He said if you can't eat it, don't grow it. That's so true. Tell me, have you always been a gardener, district attorney?
Somewhat growing up in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Limited space down there, and mom's family was Italian. They had a grocery store.
Okay.
So I always liked fresh produce.
Yeah.
And tried to grow things as a kid. And after coaching baseball for 25 years and not being home on the weekends, I had now time on my hands.
Yeah.
And I decided to try gardening, and this is what I'm doing.
You're obviously pretty good at it. I've never seen an Italian squash before. Yeah. Are they all this size?
That one got a little big. That one was up in a tree, and I didn't see it until it got too late. You want to pick them a little bit smaller than that, around 3 feet long or so. And so that was a little long. It's about 8 pounds, and it's called kukutsa. It's Italian squash, very, very sweet.
Well, I'll let you all know next time how he does as a gardener, okay, when I cook this. Let's talk a little bit about what went on after May 25th, 2020. I'm going to start with you, District Attorney, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And that was the day that George Floyd was horrifically killed. Now, there have been other tapes that have come out yesterday that have shown that he was resisting arrest, and they're saying that he was full of fentanyl. Has nothing to do with the horrific way that Derek Chauvin killed him. But it does show a little different side on why some of the things transpired in the beginning. And I guess you can see it on YouTube now because D.A. Ellis in Minnesota said he didn't want to release it until his case was firm. But after $1 billion worth of damage, because we all believe in peaceful protesters, as you do, and tell us what happened to you a week or so after that when BR, the people, Baton Rouge, who really did protesting correctly. What happened in your own home environment?
It was a peaceful assembly.
Right.
You know, we respect people's right to assemble and to protest. And a few people showed up at my home protesting. I'm not exactly sure what the protesting about. I'm not sure if all of them actually knew whose house they were at or what they were doing. Not actually know why they came to my home and not the office, but that's where it was. They were, again, peaceful.
Yeah.
Didn't cause any trouble in the neighborhood. Made themselves known, treated with respect, and I respect their right to do so, and that was it. So, you know, my comments about them were above board, and they have a right to do that. And you know, countries based on protest and resisting things. So, but yeah, we all agree with peaceful, nonviolent displays like that, and.
That's what Martin Luther King and Gandhi changed the world, both of them were peaceful protesters. Yeah. I do believe that in a lot of the cities, as I said, $1 billion of damage in Minneapolis is not peaceful.
Yeah.
You know, the chop zone causing people to lose their business opportunity. People can't pay their rent. We already are going through COVID.
Yeah.
And then as you were very gracious, you said in the paper, and you said, as you're saying now, you know, it's their right, and it is our right. Yes. And we should exercise those rights as we can as American citizens. Yeah. But when you go across the line is when, are we really exercising rights or are we criminals? I'll give that one to you, Major.
And that's where we go to so far as when you started damaging property and lives is that in danger, that's when the issue comes in. But like you say, here it was very peaceful.
Yeah.
We had an open communication with them. Mm-hmm. So we communicated great with them. It was a great relationship the sheriff had with them. So we worked together, and that's what happens when you work together. It's an open dialogue.
BR the people. Do you know if that's Gary Chambers or Silky Slim? Silky's been on my show before.
Yeah, I don't know exactly,
okay. Right.
but we actually engaged with the young crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, these are younger.
Yes, the ladies who's going to make a difference in the world.
Right.
They was great. We worked great with them.
Yeah, and I was so pleased to see how it transpired here.
Yes.
And I think New Orleans was pretty peaceful also.
Yeah.
Louisiana, I guess we were just pretty peaceful and we did it right. That's something that we did right. Now, you've been around for 31 years.
Yes,
you started at East Baton Rouge Parish, and as people know, I had Warden Grimes. I did a show with him to talk about things going on in the parish prison about 6 months ago, I guess. Time flies now, especially been locked up with COVID. I think I lost, we all lost 3 months, right? 3 or 4 months. And, but you've worked at Burbank, a station here, Captain, I think, of Burbank, and then you worked at Scotlandville, and you worked at the SCAT unit. I read your bio. I mean, you've done so many things.
Yes, ma'am.
But I did read what your favorite things are, and that is working with the community and working with kids. Yours is gardening, I'm sure.
Yes.
So, do you do any outside things with kids? I know you coach baseball. Do you?
Yes, I used to coach. One of the coaches, assistant coaches, helped the football team at Redemptorist when Redemptorist had a school. But my heart is in the community, because to me that's where it starts at, and I think it's what makes my job easy because my boss is the same way.
Major Ponton has been a little shy, but he is at any event that we have.
Yeah.
And given the rank that he has, I'm sure he doesn't have to be there, but he is at everything that we have. People know him. People come out to talk to him.
But I wanted to talk to you a bit about, when we talk about law and order, how does the police differ from sheriff, from state troopers? I know it's about boundaries of territory, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The police department basically handles everything within the city limits, the corporation of the city. The sheriff department handles everything out in the rural area, outside the city, and we also do stuff.
Like the parish.
Yes, ma'am. The whole
outside
parish.
Baton Rouge and the entire East Baton Rouge Parish.
Yeah.
But we also do stuff inside the city limits. When we get requests or somebody needs some assistance, it's numerous things that we do inside city limits.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, ma'am.
So the police doesn't handle everything in the city?
Yes, they do. They do. But it's certain things like court papers we need to serve people.
Okay.
We go inside the city limits and do those.
Like the constable, does he work for the sheriff? Does she now work for the sheriff?
No, ma'am. She's on her own. That's their own department.
Okay.
She's on department. And the state police basically handles everything within the state. So they got jurisdiction over the whole state.
So if a state trooper, he can stop you in Baton Rouge, anywhere in East Baton Rouge, anywhere. He's got everything.
His commission is good for the whole state.
Well, does that overlap, though, with police and state trooper? Since he's got, the entire...
It can potentially, but generally they work amongst themselves to let each other know what they're working on, what they're doing, so that you don't overlap.
Yeah.
Is this just set up in most states? They have all three, or do some have different?
Well, some of them have, it depends on some of them have this city sheriff department and not city, because of the town can't afford it.
Right.
So the county takes care of the city limits.
Okay.
But it's kind of unique the way we have it here.
Okay.
And so far as the partnership and working together, it's very unique. You usually don't see that relationship so far as cooperation with each other.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great. It's great.
I believe in this country. In this country, I've traveled quite extensively, and there's no place better than America. And I hope we're not trying to turn it into, some people are socialistic, trying to turn it into Venezuela. And I just did a show with two wealth management people, Pete LaSavio. Pete, right? Yeah, Pete's the next. I did 3 shows with Pete recently, and we're very good friends, Pete and I, since I've been here. And Marie and I are friends, and his former wife, Sue. The BR, the people who did do it right, and we as a city appreciate that from you all when you did the peaceful protest. But reading what they said in The Advocate had a lot to do with Blaine, pronounce it Salamani.
The 2 officers that were involved.
Yeah, the 2 officers. And at the end of the day, as I was saying, the Obama administration, for every case during his reign, which there were more than they have been in the last couple of years, and hopefully there are no more, but the Tamar Rice, the Eric Garner, the Trayvon Martin, the Michael Brown, all of those came back with no civil rights violation, which is taken up at the federal level, and the federal people administration. The United States Attorney General looked at that, Eric Holden, Redland. So I did want people to know that. So if Jeff Landry came back from here with, he didn't find enough to take to grand jury, as you were saying, but neither did federal find enough.
The federal, they did the same, and they just issued a long report on what their findings were. That's generally what we do in our cases. It takes us around a year per case because it's so much information to be considered. We don't do that on regular cases, so the heightened scrutiny on officer-involved shootings is tremendous. We're not staffed for that,
Right.
But we try to do that amongst our office. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but we have to get the decision right. It has to be based on the facts and the law, and people have to be secure in understanding that we're doing the best we can, and we're doing a very good job on the reports. They're detailed, and we explain why we did what we did, as opposed to going to a grand jury, which is secret, and the grand jury just saying no true bill. That they have no idea what happened, what was presented. Well, in a report, we present everything, and you can be critical of it, and this could be right there in front of you.
So where can people go find that if they want to see something on any case they'd like to see? Can they go look at it somewhere?
They were on the website. They're so big,
Yeah.
volumes. You have to take them down after
Okay.
keeping them up for certain weeks. But they've been published in all the newspapers,
Okay.
all the different news
Just if
articles.
people wanted to
So,
find
yeah,
it,
they're-
they can.
they're
It's
surely-
public information.
They're surely out there. Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know if people know this also. When I did 3 shows on Alton Sterling with his attorney, I went out to the Triple S with Abdullah Mahufly and another show with both of them. And there was someone who did call the police first, and he happened to be a black man who said that he was what we called banishing a gun. He was waving a gun around trying to kill someone. So I guess it's different, Major, if I think I'm just coming to a robbery maybe, or versus someone who is banishing a gun trying to kill somebody.
Yes. Yeah.
So you would come differently, right? Tell me, have you been on any case like that you
Yes.
dispatched? And in fact, I did Donna last week. I did Donna Shasacy out of Shasacy Packing in New Orleans. You
Yes.
probably, she was here in studio with Reverend
Yes.
White. Her son was killed by
Yes.
police in Alabama.
Yes.
And what happened with that was the dispatch, the fireman called it in. He said he may have a gun. He had a fanny pack or on his lap, black. And when it got out, it was, he has a gun. So when the police come, it was a perfect, imperfect storm for her son.
Sure.
But so how do you, because your life is always at risk too. I did ask Police Chief Davity, why do y'all shoot to kill? Why can't you shoot to stop? Shouldn't that be a different training scenario? No?
No, it's not. It's not. Case law shows that sometimes depend on the person on any type of narcotics or anything like that. You can shoot them and they can still be alive and they can endanger someone else. So it's not like you say we just want to just kill someone. You know,
Right.
that's not a word that law enforcement like to want to use and stuff like that. So that goes back to your training.
Yeah.
And that's something that we had started to looked at in 2019. We got a third party to look at all our policies and use of force. So we're going back and looking at changing some things to make sure that the use of force policy is followed. We don't use no chokeholds. That's not in training. Nobody trained you do that, so you don't use that. We're going back to make sure if
Let
you
me
see.
ask you this, because I heard one governor say he outchoked, not this state, but another state, they outlawed the chokehold years ago.
Yeah.
So that could be done at a local level. You don't have to wait
Yes.
to federal to say no chokeholds, right?
My 31 years here, that we was never trained that, so it's not in training. So therefore we went back and pulling the policy that's not.
So Derek Chauvin was just a
Yeah.
brutal person for some reason.
Yeah, that's not something that's trained. We also make sure the guys know that if you see something and you know it's wrong, it goes against our training, intervene. Don't wait. Make sure you intervene and stop it.
But isn't it like a brotherhood? That's kind of difficult.
No, it's
not.
that. If you see somebody doing something wrong, you should do something. Because that could be your family member.
That's right.
Somebody you love.
You should definitely do it.
Yes,
It's
yes.
just like, and I'm getting ready to do a show with mothers of sons lost by black on black,
Yes.
black crime. And
Yeah.
sometimes, a lot of times, people know who did it, and it's called no snitching
Yes.
in the neighborhood, right? So sometimes it's kind of hard because you get afraid yourself for repercussions of what might happen. And I'm sure I've seen stories on Law and Order and things like that, or Special Victims Unit where, police have turned another one in.
Yes.
And then they come after them.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's just real world. You just have to take
Yeah.
case by case, I guess, right?
You obviously have a beautiful guest here next to talk about that, and
Right.
she's a really good voice for the
Right.
community. But surely you have a lack of trust, in police, prosecutors, judges,
Right.
not just police. They get it all, but it's everyone together in this system, which is really not a
That's right.
system. It's more of a churn than
Yeah.
it's a system. But when people don't trust the police
Yeah.
and they want to take things in their own hand, that's when there's a retaliatory shooting and the next person's dead.
Right.
It just goes on and on and on.
Right.
Eventually, we need the community to trust us, give us the information, let us work it as quickly as we can, because you have to do it very quickly.
Right.
And they need the information, all the information they can, not just cell phone information. Now our cases are more technical than they are witness heavy. But we need the people's support. We need their help. That's how we're going to solve these cases. That's how we're going to stop them.
Do you think when people believe they're bad cops, like Derek Chauvin obviously was in Minnesota, and I'm sure there's some in Louisiana, there's some everywhere, right? In every situation, not just cops, lawyers, bad people everywhere in every phase of life. But it seems to be going through the unions. In fact, I'm going to try to do a show with Attorney Dewey. He's an attorney now, and he works with the unions. That they still have to stay. I don't know. It's hard to fire. Is it hard to fire people? Chauvin has 7 or 8 violations, I think, or put people out of. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but is it hard? And I guess every situation, again, Louisiana would be different than Arkansas, would be different than Texas. But I think and we know that's what gives police bad. When they see an on the spotlight, you don't see. As I mentioned, to Horace Anderson, and I want people to remember the 14-year-old boy that was shot and killed in CHOP, right? By the hashtag BLM or whoever was living in CHOP. And artists, what do they call them? They call it's a name for them.
Anarchist.
Anarchist. Whoever killed him inside there, you never heard his name. The black police chief in St. Louis, when they were looting, former police chief, 70-year-old man, that he shot him in the back of the head trying to steal a diamond ring. I mean, you don't hear those names. So I think it's unfair, and I may get in trouble for this, but I'm a math major. 2 + 2 has to equal 4. You can't look at one side of an equation and not add them both up. We have to work together to rid the country of the bad police, but also we have to do something in the communities. Now, defunding the police in New York and Chicago and Seattle and Minnesota, we see where it's getting them, right?
Yeah, so
200% increase in crime.
But when they talk about defunding the police, I think what they're really saying is that you give these people that wear this badge and this uniform, you give them all the things that are broken and you don't have funds for, mental health, drugs. If something doesn't work, let the police go do the dirty work and pick them up. Let's do something different. That when they talk about real defunding, they're talking about that. Let's not let a policeman go to a mental health call. Can we have a mental health professional go? There's a drug overdose. Should that be a policeman or should it be a person that has that experience? But they have to do all of this.
Have a baby. Why can't they call EMT, right? Somebody's pregnant.
Yeah, we get that.
So that's where it's going to have to be a whole shift
and it's too
in the
much.
way we do things.
It's too much on you all. But instead of castrating people, they need to talk about it. But I will differ a little with you, D.A. Moore. In New York, they have taken the money when they took away 600 of the undercover guys who really got the guns off the street. I heard Eric something, he was the borough chief and he's a policeman. He was a former policeman. And he said, how dare they? They got to put those people back because that's why crime is shooting up. He said they knew who to talk to. They knew where to go get the guns. And people don't realize you can do gun control all you want, but I guarantee you in New York City, Chicago, and all these other cities, they are not buying them in the stores. These are illegal guns, 85% of guns.
And that's why the importance goes to like.
And I do believe in universal gun control. I just want to say that, but that won't stop this problem.
And it goes back to the police officers and the sheriff department having buy into the neighborhood. You have to go back into the neighborhood. We can't go to your house just because you called me on a problem. So all the time you see me is when you have a problem. So we are integrating into the community. So we got
community policing back in the old days. We talked about that before on shows.
We're big with that, and that's what, like Hilar was saying, that we work well with the Truth program. Your next guest, she comes out and walk with us in the heat, and like that. So, but that goes back to we doing our part at law enforcement. We have to get back in the community and be there all the time for you. You know, when you not when it's only you having problems. Right.
But I don't know what else we can do because, as I said, there's 7,000 black on black crime. I started in 15, and these are not just police statistics. The Washington Post does studies on it. I look at Pew does studies, a lot of different, and that's what it turns out to be, black on black crime.
So I think if the young people would respect their own life and their well-being, but we have to help them with that. And respect someone else that they would not kill them. And that's where it really comes to, do you respect yourself?
That's right.
If you do, you got to respect someone else. You won't take that gun out. The other is conflict resolution. These children, young kids have no conflict resolution skills. It's a gun is the end. It's the ultimate end. It's over. and it's not
What
a
do
video
you do
game.
about that, Dia?
I think it starts in the home. And again, when the home breaks down, you send these guys in. When the neighborhood breaks down, you send these guys in.
Yeah.
But it should always be starting in your own home, your own neighborhood, your church, your school. Because look, if you see these kids at a young age that we deal with now at 17, 18, when you see them younger, they're extremely bright and talented. When you see these kids who are potential killers right now at 17, 18.
And we aren't only talking black, we're talking white also.
White,
We're
black, and
talking
white.
kids, period.
But
Yeah.
when you see and you talk to them outside, man, that's a special person. That's a life that may be wasted. If you got to them early, you can change it. I'm telling you, we have some talented people that have now died or are now in jail because we didn't get to them soon enough. We didn't spend the money enough on the front end to help these people. We had to send them in at the end because it
When it's
was
too
really
late.
broken down.
Yeah.
But if we were able to slow down, spend more time on people, but you have to get to them early,
Yeah.
way early,
Yeah.
like at birth, before birth,
Yeah.
in pregnancy.
Right.
We have to get back to that.
And if we're going to reallocate funds, whatever you want to call it, to other areas, that should be a main part of a mayor's and a governor's budget too. We can't wait on federal for everything. They've got so much to do,
Yeah.
and they give money to the states and everybody federal. But President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Trump, none of them can do everything.
True.
And I think that has to be more done at our local levels.
True.
Yes.
Because when I was looking at all the conflict going on, I didn't know America tell a president you can't come in. Is there anything else that you all would like to say?
I just appreciate being on the show, especially with Mr. Ponton, a good man. And just if we can get the word out that we need the community's help. It can't be done from the top down.
No.
It has to be done from the bottom up. Everybody working together.
Right.
We're all in this together. We're not leaving here alone.
Right.
Or singularly. We can all be leaving here together. So we have to work at this. Baton Rouge deserves better than the number of murders we have.
It's still
wrong.
pretty high here.
It's
the
very
number.
high. We've had 2 summers because of the pandemic. We're in the middle of our summer now.
Right.
So we need community's help.
Right. How would you suggest, DA Moore, when we say help, what would you like to tell people you would like?
Surely like the police to know all the information they can on a homicide that occurs immediately, not waiting. Don't hide behind anything. Please give them the information. If you don't want to talk to the police, call someone else. Give it to a third party. Give it to a preacher. Give it to a counselor. Give it to your council person.
That's a good idea. Give it to
with
somebody
someone.
else where you don't have to be, but they still have to come back and talk to you.
That's not valuable as much to us.
It's
Call
secondhand
Crime
information.
Stoppers because
Okay.
we can use the evidence through Crime
Oh,
Stoppers.
really? Okay.
There's a special exception for that. But we want people to talk. We need witnesses in the
Right.
chair, but it takes courage, and
It does.
We need that now.
In fact, the show I do after this one of the ladies knows that someone knows who killed her
There's no
son, and
doubt.
he won't tell.
There's no doubt she
Yeah,
does.
they
and,
know. Yeah.
That's got to tear your heart out.
It does,
As
because-
a mom, every day, every holiday that
Right.
comes around, you have to think about how could this day be?
That's
and
right.
I can't imagine living like that.
And Liz Robinson, one of the women I'm going to interview,
doubt.
had a great family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody, a husband. It's not I hate to say this, but what people think of as a typical black on black kind of crime.
Yes.
No drugs, family together, daddy in the home, and just a perfect
Yes.
family. And that's why I want to help her shine a light on this situation she's
Appreciate
doing
it.
on change, that her organization
She's great.
change. So I thank you for being here, and anything, as you know,
Thank you.
and as your sheriff knows,
Yes.
that I can do, because that's why I do this.
Yes, ma'am. We're glad to be here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you.